Welcome back, and thank you for tuning into Cheating Tales Lab. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know, what part of the world are you watching from right now? Let us know in the comments. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Last Normal Day. Derek Mason guided his yellow taxi through Manhattan's bustling streets, navigating between delivery trucks and luxury sedans with practiced ease. His weathered hands rested loosely on the steering wheel, muscles relaxed despite the chaos around him. At 42, he'd perfected the art of invisibility, becoming just another face in New York's endless stream of cab drivers. A young woman in a business suit tapped on his window at a red light. Derek unlocked the doors with a gentle click. "Where to, miss?" "Goldman Sachs, please." She barely looked up from her phone, exactly how Derek preferred it. As he merged into traffic, Derek caught a glimpse of himself in the rearview mirror. Gray peppered his temples, and laugh lines creased the corners of his kind brown eyes. The perfect disguise for a man who once commanded Interpol's most lethal tactical unit. His left sleeve concealed more than just skin. The geometric tattoo there marked him as Ghost Protocol's former commander, a detail known to only 5 people in the world. 3 had met violent ends in various corners of the globe. 1 had vanished without a trace. And the 5th. Derek's jaw tightened imperceptibly. The 5th would soon learn why even hardened operatives whispered his codename with respect. "You seem different from other cab drivers," the woman said suddenly, looking up from her phone. "More alert, somehow." Derek's laugh was warm and practiced. 15 years behind the wheel, ma'am. You learn to stay sharp, or you don't last long." She nodded, satisfied with the simple explanation. None of his passengers ever suspected that their chatty driver had once orchestrated operations that toppled governments and dismantled terrorist cells. That was the point. The woman's stop came quickly. As she paid, Derek's phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca. "Dinner at 7? Made your favorite." His wife of 15 years, the former criminal psychologist who'd chosen a quieter life after their marriage. Derek typed back a quick affirmative, his mind dwelling on their brownstone in Queens. Each room held memories, shared laughter, quiet evenings, heated discussions about books and politics. All of it carefully crafted fiction. What Rebecca didn't know was that Derek had selected this life. Each element, the taxi, the modest home, the routine, designed to put maximum distance between himself and his former world. A world where trust came with expiration dates and loyalty was measured in bullet wounds. But Rebecca had secrets of her own. In their bedroom closet, hidden behind winter coats, a burner phone held 8 months of messages plotting Derek's death. Each one typed with the same hands that caressed his face and prepared his meals. The day continued like any other. Derek picked up businessmen heading to meetings, tourists seeking landmarks, locals running errands. Each fare added to his carefully maintained facade of normalcy. Yet beneath the surface, years of training kept his senses razor-sharp. He noticed the black SUV that passed his taxi 3 times in different neighborhoods, logged the man in the gray suit who appeared at 2 separate pickup locations, filed away the slight bulge under jackets that betrayed concealed weapons. Old habits died hard. At 6:45 p.m., Derek pulled into his usual parking spot. The brownstone's familiar facade greeted him, warm lights glowing in the kitchen window. He could see Rebecca moving inside, preparing dinner. His wife, his betrayer. Inside, Rebecca turned from the stove as he entered, her smile bright. Perfect timing. The roast is just about done. Derek crossed the kitchen and kissed her cheek, breathing in her familiar perfume. "Smells amazing, honey." His hands, capable of snapping a man's neck in seconds, gently squeezed her shoulders. "How was work?" Rebecca stirred a pot of sauce, her wedding ring catching the light. "Same as always. Though I had an interesting fare, professor type, talked my ear off about psychology. Made me think of your old work." Rebecca's spatula paused for a fraction of a second. "Oh, what did you discuss?" "Behavioral analysis. Reading people." Derek watched her reaction in the window's reflection. He had some fascinating theories about deception. "I don't miss those days," Rebecca said smoothly. "Too much darkness. I prefer our quiet life." Derek set the table as she finished cooking, each movement deliberate and measured. The dining room's walls held photos of their life together, vacation snapshots, anniversary celebrations, holiday gatherings, a museum of manufactured moments. Over dinner, they talked about neighborhood gossip, plans for the weekend, maybe seeing a show. The perfect picture of domestic contentment. Yet beneath the table, Derek's phone held an encrypted message from his past. Coordinates, a warning, a name he hadn't expected to see again. "You're quiet tonight," Rebecca observed, refilling his wine glass. Derek met her gaze. "Just tired. Long day." She reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "Poor baby. Why don't you take a hot shower while I clean up?" He smiled, squeezed back. "What did I do to deserve you?" Later, as Rebecca slept beside him, Derek lay awake. His tactical mind processed variables, calculated odds, formulated contingencies. In the morning, he'd start his shift like always. Pick up fares, navigate traffic, play his role. But something had changed. A threshold had been crossed. The game was in motion, and Derek Mason, the real Derek Mason, was awake after 15 years of hibernation. The ghost was back in play. Chapter 2. The Digital Trail. Special Agent Madeline Torres hunched over her desk at the FBI's Cybercrimes Division, her third cup of coffee growing cold beside her keyboard. At 38, she'd traded field operations for digital warfare, but her instincts remained sharp as ever. Those same instincts now screamed that something was wrong. The dark web chatter had started 3 days ago. A series of encrypted transfers, bouncing through servers across 6 continents. Most agents would have missed the pattern, but Madeline hadn't spent 4 years as Derek Mason's second-in-command without learning to spot the invisible. "Got you," she muttered, isolating a transaction thread. $2 million, routed through a maze of shell companies before landing in an account linked to Los Zetas cartel. The target description was sparse but specific. Male, early 40s, cab driver, Queens residence. Former intelligence. "Hey Torres, you coming to the briefing?" Agent Chan stuck his head around her cubicle. 5 minutes. She didn't look up from her screen, fingers flying across the keyboard. The money's origin caught her attention. An encrypted channel belonging to Michael Reeves, hedge fund manager and rising star in Manhattan's financial circles. Madeline pulled up his file. 35, Harvard MBA, board member of multiple charities. No criminal record. But there was something else. A series of hotel charges, restaurant receipts, jewelry purchases. All in the past 8 months. All suggesting a man having an affair. Madeline had kept tabs on Derek since he'd walked away from Ghost Protocol. Not out of professional obligation. He'd been more than her commander. He'd been her mentor, the closest thing to family she had left. She'd watched him build his new life, respect his choice to disappear. Now she pulled up Rebecca Mason's social media presence. Pictures of charity events, book club meetings, neighborhood gatherings. Perfect wife, perfect life. Except, well shit. Madeline leaned back in her chair, pieces clicking into place. There she was. Rebecca Mason, photographed at a charity gala 3 months ago. Standing next to Michael Reeves, their body language screaming intimacy even in a crowded room. Across town, Michael Reeves adjusted his tie in his penthouse mirror. The Brioni suit cost more than most people made in a month, but appearance was everything in his world. At 35, he'd clawed his way into Manhattan's elite through ruthless ambition and calculated charm. His phone chimed with a message from Rebecca. "Missing you. Tonight?" Michael smiled, remembering their first meeting at the Metropolitan Museum Gala. She'd approached him during the auction, glass of champagne in hand, eyes sparkling with intelligence. Their conversation had ranged from Renaissance art to behavioral psychology, her insights cutting through his carefully maintained facade. He'd been intrigued, then obsessed. Rebecca Mason was nothing like the vapid socialites who usually surrounded him. Her mind was a razor wrapped in silk. Each meeting revealed new layers, new complexities. What Michael didn't realize was that he was being dissected. Each response cataloged, each reaction noted. Rebecca's former career hadn't ended with marriage. It had evolved into something far more dangerous. His phone rang. A secured line. "Is it done?" Michael asked without preamble. "Transfer confirmed." The voice was heavily accented. "My men are in position. Remember the requirements." It has to look like an accident. We know our job, senor. Michael ended the call, poured himself 3 fingers of scotch. The sun was setting over Manhattan, painting his corner office in amber light. Soon, he told himself. Soon Rebecca would be free. Back at the FBI, Madeline Torres made a decision. She opened a secure channel she hadn't used in years, typed in a code sequence that would reach Derek Mason's phone. An alert that would wake the ghost. In Queens, Derek's phone vibrated silently in his pocket. Rebecca glanced over from the couch where she was reading. "Work?" she asked. "Just a fair request for tomorrow." The lie came smoothly as Derek read Madeline's message. His expression never changed, but inside, switches flipped. Programs activated. The soldier woke. "You've been working so hard lately," Rebecca said, setting down her book. "Maybe we should take a vacation. Get away from the city." Derek sat beside her, played his part. "That sounds nice. Where were you thinking?" "Somewhere quiet. Private." She leaned against him, breath warm on his neck. "Just the two of us." His arm went around her shoulders, muscles relaxed even as his mind processed the subtle threat in her words. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere isolated. Somewhere a body might never be found. "Let me check my schedule," he said, kissing her temple. That night, while Rebecca slept, Derek accessed the surveillance system he'd installed years ago. Not out of suspicion, protocol didn't allow for such weaknesses. Every conversation, message, whispered phone call had been recorded and archived. He found what he was looking for quickly. Rebecca's voice, speaking to Michael Reeves. "Derek's just a dumb taxi driver. Once he's gone, we'll have everything." In his home office, surrounded by evidence of his wife's betrayal, Derek Mason allowed himself a small, cold smile. They thought they were hunting a cab driver. They were hunting the ghost. Chapter 3. The First Move. The burner phone buzzed in Rebecca's purse during her Wednesday book club meeting. She excused herself to the bathroom of her friend Sarah's tastefully decorated brownstone, fingers trembling slightly as she read Michael's message. Contact made. 3 days. Rebecca stared at her reflection in the antique mirror. A successful psychologist would have recognized the signs of cognitive dissonance in her expression, the conflict between her calculated exterior and the ruthless machinery of her mind. She typed back, "No mistakes. Make it clean." Returning to the living room, Rebecca rejoined the discussion of that month's bestseller with practiced enthusiasm. None of the women noticed anything amiss. They saw only what she wanted them to see. The supportive wife who'd chosen love over career ambition. "Rebecca, you've been quiet about the ending," Sarah prompted. "What did you think?" "I found the protagonist's motivation unconvincing," Rebecca answered, drawing on years of academic analysis. His actions contradicted established behavioral patterns. The irony of her criticism wasn't lost on her. Here she sat, discussing fictional characters while orchestrating her husband's murder. But Derek had made it necessary. His carefully maintained facade of normalcy had frustrated her research for years. Across town, Derek's taxi pulled up outside a nondescript office building. Ray Sullivan climbed into the back seat, his muscular frame barely contained by a tailored suit. The former Marine sniper had saved Derek's life in Belgrade during an operation gone wrong. Now he worked private security, maintaining a network of contacts that kept him informed of underworld movements. "Thanks for meeting," Derek said, pulling into traffic. "Wouldn't miss it." Ray's voice was gravelly from years of combat cigars. "Been too long, Ghost. What do you have?" Los Zetas sent 3 men to New York last week. Led by El Coyote. Derek's hands tightened fractionally on the wheel. Javier Mendoza, aka El Coyote, had earned his reputation making deaths look like accidents. His presence confirmed the professional nature of the hit. "They're staying in Brooklyn," Ray continued. "Industrial District. I've got eyes on them. Any connection to Romano's crew?" "Not yet. But Vincent's been asking questions about you." "Subtle ones." Derek processed this information. Vincent Romano had lost his brother to a ghost protocol operation years ago. If Rebecca had reached out to him, "Watch Romano," Derek instructed. "He'll make a move soon." "What about your wife?" Derek's expression didn't change. "Focus on the cartel. I'll handle Rebecca." After dropping Ray off, Derek began implementing countermeasures. He modified his routes, varying his schedule while maintaining the appearance of routine. Security systems in the brownstone were upgraded under the guise of home improvement projects. Rebecca noticed nothing unusual. Her attention was focused on Michael Reeves, their messages growing bolder as the deadline approached. Each conversation was captured by Derek's surveillance, archived alongside years of data. In his FBI office, Michael Reeves touched the small scar on his neck, a souvenir from his first meeting with Rebecca. She'd traced it with a fingernail during dinner, eyes gleaming with interest. "Tell me how you got it," she'd prompted. The truth, a childhood accident, seemed inadequate. So he'd invented a story about a mugging. Watching her reaction, her fascination with violence should have been a warning sign. Now he sat in his corner office, billions in assets under his control, orchestrating a murder with borrowed cartel muscle. The absurdity wasn't lost on him. His phone rang, a blocked number. "Mr. Reeves." The voice was female, professional. "Special Agent Torres, FBI Cybercrimes Division. We should talk." Michael's blood ran cold. "I'm in meetings all day. Make time, or I make a call to the SEC about certain offshore transactions." After hanging up, Michael poured himself a drink with shaking hands. He didn't notice the small red dot appearing on his chest. Ray Sullivan testing sight lines from a neighboring building. That evening, Rebecca prepared dinner while Derek watched the news. The facade of domestic tranquility remained intact, but subtle shifts had occurred. Pieces were moving on the board. "I ran into Sarah today," Rebecca said, "chopping vegetables. She mentioned a vacation home in Vermont. Very private. Perfect for a getaway." Derek smiled, noting the location for future reference. "Sounds nice. We could go next week. Just disappear for a while. Let me check my schedule at the depot." Later, as Rebecca worked in her home office, Derek accessed her encrypted files. Her research hadn't stopped with marriage. It had evolved into a systematic study of breaking hardened operatives. Their entire relationship had been an experiment in long-term psychological manipulation. In the bedroom they shared, Derek watched his wife sleep. 15 years of memories, all carefully documented in her hidden files. Every intimate conversation analyzed. Every vulnerability probed and recorded. His phone vibrated. A message from Ray. "El Coyote's team is moving." The game was accelerating. Soon, Rebecca's carefully constructed plan would collapse. But first, Derek needed to understand the full scope of her betrayal. In 3 days, blood would flow. The ghost would return to what he did best. And New York's underworld would remember why some legends are better left undisturbed. Chapter 4, First Blood. The brownstone sat quiet in the midnight hour. Inside, motion sensors tracked 3 figures moving through the darkness. They carried MP5 submachine guns with suppressors, professional hardware for what they assumed would be an easy kill. El Coyote hand-signaled his men forward. The intel said their target would be asleep upstairs, a simple cab driver, soft from years of civilian life. $2 million for an amateur job. From his position on the neighboring rooftop, Derek Mason watched through a thermal scope. His face remained impassive as the first intruder bypassed the obviously damaged backdoor lock. "Position?" Derek's voice was barely a whisper into his comm unit. "Northwest corner, 3 blocks out," Ray Sullivan responded. "Wind speed 2 knots. Target acquired. Hold for my signal." The first hitman crossed the kitchen threshold. Derek's thumb hovered over a detonator. Years of combat experience had taught him the value of patience. 3 more steps. The explosion lit up the night. The blast radius had been precisely calculated. Enough force to eliminate the threat without structural damage to surrounding buildings. Derek watched through his scope as the thermal signature of the first hitman vanished. The second intruder spun toward the sound. Ray's bullet caught him center mass before he could radio a warning. He dropped without a sound. El Coyote proved why he'd earned his reputation. The cartel assassin dove for cover, switching positions with trained efficiency. But he'd already lost the initiative. "Target moving southwest," Ray reported. "No clear shot. Maintain position," Derek ordered. He switched to a different feed on his tablet. The house's internal cameras tracked El Coyote's movement. The assassin was good, staying low, checking corners, using furniture as cover. Derek allowed himself a small, cold smile. The cameras weren't just for surveillance. El Coyote reached the study. Derek activated the secondary system. Metal shutters slammed down over the windows and doors. Gas began seeping through the ventilation system. Not lethal, but it would disorient and incapacitate. The cartel hitman realized the trap too late. He fired a burst at the nearest shutter, but the reinforced metal held. Within seconds, the gas took effect. El Coyote stumbled, then collapsed. Derek switched channels on his comm. Madeline, you have eyes on the penthouse? Affirmative. Special Agent Torres responded. Your wife just arrived. She's with Reeves. In Michael Reeves' luxury apartment, Rebecca Mason paced anxiously. She changed from her usual conservative attire into a black cocktail dress that highlighted her figure. A celebration outfit. Another drink? Michael offered from his private bar. We should have heard something by now. Rebecca checked her phone again. El Coyote promised to call when it was done. These things take time. Michael loosened his tie. The important thing is... Rebecca's phone buzzed. She snatched it up, read the message. Her face drained of color. What? Michael moved closer. What is it? They're dead. Rebecca's voice was flat. 2 of them. El Coyote is missing. That's impossible. He's just a cab driver. No. Rebecca's laugh held no humor. No, he's not. She pulled up an image on her tablet. Security camera footage showed Derek on the rooftop, his movements precise and lethal as he coordinated the counterattack. My God. Michael backed away. What have you gotten us into? He knows. Rebecca's mind raced through scenarios. He's known all along. Playing us, watching us. We need to leave the country. I have accounts. You don't understand. Rebecca turned to him, eyes wild. I've studied men like Derek. Running just makes us prey. We have to fight. In his rooftop position, Derek watched El Coyote being loaded into an unmarked van. The cartel assassin would wake up in a secure location, ready for questioning. But that could wait. Ray, clean up the scene. I'm moving to phase 2. Copy that, Ghost. A pause. Like old times, eh? Better. Derek packed his gear with practiced efficiency. This time it's personal. At the FBI office, Madeline Torres coordinated with her team. Financial records, surveillance photos, and intelligence reports covered her screens. She'd forgotten how alive field work made her feel. Agent Torres? A junior analyst appeared at her desk. You need to see this. We found something in Reeves' accounts. Madeline studied the new data. Her expression hardened. Get me Director Phillips. Now. Dawn approached as Derek drove his taxi through empty streets. To any observer, he was just another early shift driver starting his day. They couldn't see the weapons concealed beneath the seats, the armor plating in the doors, the military-grade communications suite hidden in the dashboard. His phone displayed a message from Rebecca. We need to talk. Derek typed back. Soon. The pieces were in motion. His wife wanted a war. The ghost would give her one. Chapter 5. Counterattack. Michael Reeves' hands shook as he tried accessing his Cayman Islands accounts. Access denied. He tried Singapore. Same result. Switzerland. Denied. No, no, no. He slammed his fist on the desk. His office phone rang. The private line. Mr. Reeves. Madeline Torres' voice carried authority. I trust you've discovered the inconvenience with your accounts. You can't do this. I have rights. Funny thing about rights. Papers rustled on her end. They get complicated when you're funding terrorist organizations. Michael's blood ran cold. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's discuss it in person. My agents are in your lobby. He slammed down the phone, grabbed his jacket. The private elevator would take him to the garage. His security team would handle. The elevator doors opened. A man in a tailored suit stood inside. Michael recognized him from the personnel files. James Chin, ex-military, head of personal security. Going down, sir? Chin's expression was neutral. Michael backed away. My office. Now. I'm afraid I can't do that. Chun stepped forward. You see, Commander Mason once saved my life and soul. The kind of debt you never forget. Running footsteps approached from the stairwell. Michael sprinted for his office, slammed the door. Options raced through his mind. The window? 40 stories up. The panic room? No good if his own security worked for. Hello, Michael. He spun around. Derek Mason sat in his chair, as comfortable as if he owned the place. How? Michael's voice cracked. I've had access to your office for months. Derek's voice was conversational. Did you really think Rebecca was the only one gathering intelligence? Listen, I can explain. The money laundering? Derek pulled up files on Michael's own computer. The terrorist connections? Or your part in trying to have me killed? Rebecca planned it. Michael's composure shattered. She manipulated me. Used me. I know. Derek stood. That's why you're still breathing. For now. The office door opened. Agent Torres entered, flanked by FBI agents. Michael Reeves, she began. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, money laundering, and providing material support to terrorist organizations. As they led him away, Michael caught a glimpse of his reflection in the office windows. He barely recognized himself. Across town, Rebecca Mason made her move. The meeting with Vincent Romano took place in the back room of his restaurant, classical music masking their conversation. I have proof. Rebecca slid a file across the table. Your brother's death wasn't random. It was a ghost protocol operation. Romano studied the documents, his face darkening. Where did you get this? 15 years of marriage provides access. Rebecca sipped her wine. Derek Mason led the team that killed Marco. The cab driver? Romano's knuckles whitened around his glass. That's impossible. Look at the photos. Romano did. His brother's murder had haunted him for a decade. Now he had a name. A face. What do you want? Help me finish what El Coyote couldn't. Rebecca leaned forward. You get revenge. I get freedom. My men will handle it. No. Rebecca's voice sharpened. We do this my way. Derek's not just trained. He's brilliant. We need to be smarter. As if on cue, gunfire erupted outside. Romano's guards shouted. Cars screeched. Rebecca smiled. Right on schedule. Derek's taxi tore through the streets, Romano's vehicles in pursuit. The cab's engine had been modified, its frame reinforced. A pursuit vehicle rammed him from behind. The impact barely registered. Target acquired. Ray's voice came through the comm, taking the shot. The pursuer's front tire exploded. The car swerved, collided with a parked truck. 2 more vehicles gained ground. Professional drivers, Derek noted. Romano wasn't using street thugs. Having fun? Madeline's voice crackled over the radio. Like a retirement party. Derek spun the wheel, the taxi drifting around a corner. How's our guest? El Coyote's feeling chatty. You'll want to hear this. A burst of gunfire shattered Derek's back window. He triggered the smoke dispensers, filling the street behind him with thick cover. The pursuit cars emerged from the smoke, only to find the taxi gone. They slowed, searching. Derek watched from an alley as they passed. Amateur move. Ray? Copy. 2 more sniper shots. 2 more disabled vehicles. In Romano's restaurant, Rebecca watched the chaos through traffic cameras. Each move calculated, each reaction predicted. Derek wasn't just surviving. He was sending a message. Your men failed. She turned to Romano. Now we do it my way. What's the play? Rebecca pulled out her phone, showed him a text message. Derek thinks he's hunting us. Time to show him who the real predator is. Chapter 6. The Deeper Conspiracy. Ray Sullivan's laptop displayed a grid of encrypted files. Each one contained years of Rebecca's research, meticulously documented experiments in breaking hardened operatives. Jesus Christ. Ray scrolled through the data. She recorded everything. Derek stood behind him, face unreadable. The safe house they'd chosen belonged to Madeline. Off the books, secure. Play the latest file. Audio filled the room. Rebecca's voice, clinical and detached. Subject continues to maintain operational deception protocols even in intimate settings. Standard infiltration techniques prove ineffective. Recommendation. Escalate to Phase 3 testing. Phase 3? Ray looked up. She staged arguments. Derek's voice was controlled. Created scenarios to test my reactions under emotional stress. The whole marriage was a laboratory. There's more. Ray opened another file. Look at the formatting, the terminology. This isn't independent research. Madeline entered, carrying fresh intel. He's right. We traced the documentation protocols. They match classified DARPA projects on enhanced interrogation. Rebecca wasn't just studying me. Derek's jaw tightened. She was developing new techniques for breaking agents. And I was her prototype. The revelation hit hard. 15 years of memories replayed with new context. Each intimate moment, each shared secret, all carefully documented, analyzed, weaponized. Across town, Michael Reeves sat in an FBI interrogation room. His Brioni suit was wrinkled, his confidence shattered. Start from the beginning, Madeline instructed. Everything about Rebecca's research. I thought. Michael's laugh was bitter. I thought she loved me. That I was special. You were a resource. Madeline's tone was professional. Access to funding, connections to certain organizations. She needed my terrorist contacts. Michael wiped his face. Said they were perfect subjects for her work. Hardened operatives who wouldn't break under normal interrogation. And you provided them, along with the money. Michael met her gaze. But I didn't know about Derek. Not at first. She said he was just a cover, someone to hide behind while she developed her methods. When did that change? 8 months ago. She said she learned everything she could from him. That it was time to move to live trials with the terrorist subjects. Michael shuddered. She wanted to test her techniques on men who wouldn't hold back, who would really try to break her subjects. And you arranged it? I made the introductions, set up the facilities. His voice cracked. Those men, what she did to them. In the observation room, Derek watched the interview. His expression revealed nothing, but his hands had curled into fists. At a private airfield outside the city, Rebecca prepared for the next phase. Her laptop displayed Derek's taxi moving through Manhattan, exactly as predicted. Right on schedule. She turned to Romano. Your men are in position? The crime boss nodded. They know their jobs. But this psychological warfare you mentioned, Derek thinks he knows me. Rebecca's smile was cold. Thinks he can anticipate my moves because he's lived with me for 15 years. But he never knew the real me. And the real you is? Someone who spent those years learning exactly how to destroy him. She checked her watch. Time to begin. In the safe house, Ray pulled up new data. Rebecca's accessing old Ghost protocol files. Mission reports, operational procedures. She's building a profile. Derek studied the screen. Using my past operations to predict my tactics. There's something else. Ray opened another window. These equipment requisitions, facility preparations. She's been planning this for years, not just planning. Madeline joined them, building an infrastructure. The terrorist subjects weren't random targets. Each one matched a specific psychological profile. Mine. Derek's voice was quiet. She needed to test her methods. Madeline pulled up more files. Each subject helped her refine her approach. And now she thinks she's ready. Derek stood. She thinks she knows exactly how I'll react. It's a trap, Ray warned. Of course it is. Derek checked his weapons. She's counting on my training, my instincts, expecting me to follow standard Ghost protocol procedures. So what's the play? Derek's smile was predatory. We give her exactly what she wants. Then we show her what happens when the Ghost goes off script. The pieces were set. The trap was ready to spring. But Rebecca had forgotten one crucial detail. The Ghost didn't play by anyone's rules. Chapter 7. The Trap. The car accident made headlines across local news stations. A yellow taxi burned beyond recognition on the FDR Drive. The driver's body, charred but identifiable through dental records as Derek Mason. Rebecca watched the coverage from Michael's penthouse, champagne glass in hand. They found traces of brake fluid on the road. Mechanical failure. They're saying, it's over. Michael's voice held a mix of relief and disbelief. Almost. Rebecca set down her glass. We need to tie up loose ends. That means your accounts, the cartel connections, everything. We should meet somewhere private. Plan our next steps. The usual place. Rebecca checked her phone. Tonight. In an unmarked van 3 blocks away, Ray Sullivan monitored their conversation through directional microphones. They bought it. Of course they did. Derek sat beside him, studying surveillance feeds. Rebecca thinks she knows all my tactics, all my moves. She'd expect me to fake my death. That's why she's walking into the trap? Madeline asked through the comm.
No.
Derek's voice was cold. She's walking into it because she thinks she's smarter than me. That's always been her weakness. The Plaza Hotel suite had been Rebecca and Michael's meeting spot for months. Private, discreet, with multiple escape routes, perfect for their affair. Now those same qualities would serve a different purpose. Security cameras are looped, Ray reported. Hotel staff has been cleared from the floor. Elevator controls? Derek checked his equipment. Secured. They'll only stop at the target floor. Derek nodded. Madeline? Video feeds are ready. All evidence compiled and verified. Michael arrived first, nervous energy making him pace the suite. Rebecca followed 10 minutes later, wearing a black designer dress that cost more than most people's monthly salary. To us, she poured champagne. And to new beginnings. The lights went out. Metal shutters slammed down over the windows. The doors locked with heavy mechanical clicks. Screens emerged from hidden panels in the walls, flickering to life. What's happening? Michael grabbed his phone. No signal. Rebecca spun in place, analyzing exits, searching for weaknesses. Her training kicked in, not the academic kind, but the covert operational experience she'd hidden for 15 years. Derek's voice filled the room, coming from all directions. Hello, Rebecca. The screens activated. Multiple video feeds began playing simultaneously. Rebecca and Michael at restaurants, hotels, planning Derek's murder. But there was more. Michael's meetings with terrorist financiers, footage of money exchanges, weapons deals. Impossible. Rebecca's mask cracked. We were careful. You were predictable. Derek's tone carried no emotion. You studied me for 15 years, learned my patterns, my techniques. But you forgot something crucial. And what's that, darling? Rebecca's voice dripped sarcasm, hiding her growing fear. I let you see exactly what I wanted you to see. New footage appeared. Rebecca conducting her experiments on captured operatives. Clinical notes detailing psychological breaking points. Evidence of torture disguised as research. Your work impressed certain agencies, Derek continued. They're very interested in studying your methods. From the other side of the glass, of course. Michael broke first. He ran to the door, pounded on it. Let me out. I'll tell you everything. Coward. Rebecca's contempt was visible. He's bluffing. He wouldn't risk exposing his own past. You mean Ghost Protocol? The screens changed again, showing official documents. The unit was officially dissolved years ago. All records sealed or destroyed. Except, Rebecca's eyes widened as she recognized her own secret files. The ones she'd planned to use as leverage. The ones now marked with official intelligence agency stamps. You didn't just study me, Rebecca. You documented everything. And now your research belongs to people who specialize in turning hunters into prey. The psychological assault continued for hours. Each screen targeted different vulnerabilities. Personal conversations, secret meetings, hidden accounts. All the layers of deception stripped away until nothing remained but truth. Michael cracked by dawn, huddled in a corner, confessing everything. Names, dates, accounts. A flood of information that would keep federal prosecutors busy for years. Rebecca stood her ground, defiant even as her carefully constructed world crumbled. She'd underestimated Derek once. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction again. You won't kill me, she said to the hidden speakers. You don't have it in you. 15 years of marriage proved that. Kill you? Derek's laugh held no warmth. Death would be a mercy. No, I learned from your research. The best punishment isn't physical. It's psychological. The screens displayed new information. Her research methods being implemented in black sites worldwide. Her techniques refined and turned against high-value targets. Her name becoming synonymous with breakthrough advances in psychological warfare. Your work will live forever. Derek's voice was almost gentle. And so will you. Under observation. Under study. A living testament to the effectiveness of your own methods. Rebecca's composure finally broke, not from fear or guilt, but from the realization that her life's work would become her prison. She'd be dissected, analyzed, just as she'd done to others. "You're not as clever as you think," she spat. "El Coyote is still out there. He'll find you." About that. Chapter 8. Truth and Consequences. The hotel's parking garage was empty except for a few luxury vehicles. El Coyote moved between them, his reputation on the line. The cartel wouldn't forgive another failure. His intel said the ghost would come here after dealing with his wife. Professional pride demanded a final confrontation. "Looking for me?" El Coyote spun, weapon raised. Derek Mason stood 20 feet away, unarmed. "You're dead." The assassin's finger tightened on the trigger. Disappointed? Derek's stance was relaxed. "Or just embarrassed that a cab driver outsmarted you?" El Coyote fired. Derek moved with impossible speed, closing the distance before the assassin could adjust his aim. The gun went flying. The fight was brutal. El Coyote was younger, faster, trained in multiple combat styles. He landed several solid hits, driving Derek back against a concrete pillar. "Not bad." Derek wiped blood from his lip. "But you fight like someone who's never lost." The next exchange was decisive. Derek's attacks targeted nerve clusters, weak points, old injuries. Each strike delivered with the precision of decades of experience. El Coyote stumbled, his left leg giving out. What are you?" "A ghost." Derek's fist connected with the assassin's throat. "A legend." A knee to the solar plexus. A reminder. An elbow to the base of the skull. The cartel's most feared killer lay unconscious, reputation shattered. Derek retrieved his phone, dialed a number. "Package ready for pickup." Upstairs, Michael Reeves sat in an FBI interview room, spilling secrets like blood from a wound. Each confession damned him further, but he couldn't stop. "The terrorist financing started before Rebecca," he babbled. She showed me how to expand it. Use it for her research." Madeline Torres recorded everything, her expression neutral. "And the subjects?" "She chose them carefully. Men with military backgrounds, intelligence training. Said they'd give better data than civilians." "How many?" Michael's hands shook. 12, maybe 15. I didn't want to know details. Just provided facilities, funding, and disposed of bodies. They weren't supposed to die." His voice cracked. "She said her methods were non-lethal, but sometimes they wouldn't break, and she had to push harder." In another room, Rebecca sat stone-faced as federal agents detailed the charges. Conspiracy, murder, human trafficking, torture disguised as research. "You have nothing," she said. "No bodies, no witnesses. We have your records." The lead agent pushed forward a stack of files. "Your methodology was thorough." Rebecca's mask slipped. In her drive to document everything, to prove the scientific validity of her work, she'd built her own case for prosecution. "I want a deal." "That's not my department." The agent stood. "But I hear several intelligence agencies are interested in studying your techniques." From a different perspective, down in the garage, Derek watched EMTs load El Coyote into an ambulance. The assassin would live, but his reputation wouldn't recover. "Like old times," Ray said, joining him. "Better." Derek checked his phone. New messages from contacts worldwide. The underworld was already buzzing with rumors. The ghost had returned. Chapter 9. The Ghost's Justice. The federal courthouse buzzed with activity. Michael Reeves' trial had drawn international attention. Terrorism financing, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder. Derek watched from the gallery as his wife's lover crumbled on the stand. Michael's testimony implicated terrorist cells across 3 continents, ensuring he'd spend the rest of his life in maximum security. "He'll never see daylight again," Madeline whispered. Derek nodded. Physical prison for Michael. A different kind of cage for Rebecca. Vincent Romano's criminal empire collapsed next. Anonymous tips led FBI raids on his operations. Evidence of decades of crimes appeared on law enforcement servers. His own lieutenants turned against him, remembering the taxi chase that had humiliated their organization. The cartel retreated, their feared assassin defeated by a mere cab driver. El Coyote's reputation became a cautionary tale in criminal circles. Don't hunt what you don't understand. But Rebecca's fate proved most fitting. Her research, now classified by multiple agencies, became required study for counterintelligence units. Her methods were refined, improved, used to break the very kinds of operatives she'd once hunted. She lived in a secure facility, under constant observation. Teams of psychologists studied her behavior, her reactions, her attempts at manipulation. The brilliant mind that had dissected others became a specimen itself. Derek returned to his taxi, but not alone. Ray and Madeline stayed close, forming a new kind of family. They met regularly, sharing meals and memories, rebuilding what betrayal had broken. His legend grew in intelligence circles. Whispered stories of the ghost who lived among civilians, invisible until crossed. A warning to those who thought they could hunt wolves while wearing sheep's clothing. The geometric tattoo on his arm took on new meaning. Not just a mark of his past, but a promise. A reminder that betrayal carried consequences. One morning, a passenger asked how long he'd been driving. Derek glanced in the rearview mirror, seeing past the civilian facade to the weapon beneath. "Long enough," he replied, allowing himself a small smile. Long enough to know that all stories end. Some more satisfying than others. The taxi merged into traffic, becoming one with the city's flow. The ghost returned to his cover, his justice delivered, his legend secure. But his eyes stayed sharp, his skills ready. Because some wolves prefer sheep's clothing, and the best predators are the ones you never see coming. Epilogue. 10 years later. Derek Mason's taxi service had evolved into a fleet of 30 vehicles, each one meticulously maintained and equipped with hidden security features. At 52, his hair had turned completely silver, but his physical condition remained impeccable. The taxi company provided perfect cover for his real operations, a private intelligence network that spanned the globe. Another contract came in, Madeline Torres said, sliding a tablet across his desk in the dispatch office. Now the FBI's deputy director of cyber operations, she still collaborated with Derek on cases that required a more direct approach. International? Derek studied the details. Human trafficking ring. They're using rideshare services as cover. Madeline pulled up satellite imagery. Sound familiar? Derek nodded. After Rebecca's betrayal, he'd channeled his skills into hunting predators who hid behind legitimate businesses. His taxi fleet served as both surveillance network and insertion platform. "How's the family?" he asked, noting Madeline's new wedding ring. "Sarah's starting college next year. James got promoted to detective." She smiled, thinking of her wife and adopted son. They still ask when Uncle Derek's coming for dinner. The years had transformed their professional partnership into genuine family bonds. Madeline's marriage to FBI forensic specialist Sarah Chen had given Derek a new role, the protective uncle who taught their adopted son both self-defense and advanced mathematics. "Tell them Sunday." Derek turned back to the contract. "After we clean up this mess." Ray Sullivan entered the office, his sniper rifle concealed in a golf bag. At 48, he'd lost none of his deadly accuracy. Marriage to his longtime boyfriend, former Navy SEAL Michael Chun, had only sharpened his focus. "Surveillance is set," Ray reported. "We've ID'd their safe houses. You were right about the pattern. Same setup as Romano's old operation." Vincent Romano's criminal empire had become a case study in their work. After his organization's collapse, similar groups had tried copying his methods. Derek's team specialized in dismantling them. Speaking of patterns, Madeline activated a secure screen. "You'll want to see this." The monitor displayed a maximum security psychiatric facility in Switzerland. Rebecca Mason sat in a monitored room, surrounded by research papers. Her work on breaking hardened operatives had revolutionized counterintelligence, but she'd never seen freedom again. "She's been writing new papers," Madeline explained. "Theoretical frameworks for defensive psychological conditioning. Still trying to understand how I beat her." Derek's voice held no emotion. "The agencies studying her say she's become obsessed with your methods. She can't accept that simple loyalty trumped her complex manipulations." Derek thought of the 15 years of marriage, the elaborate deceptions, the betrayal. Rebecca had tried to break him using cutting-edge psychological warfare. He destroyed her with old-fashioned principles, honor, justice, and the ruthless efficiency of the ghost. "What about our other friend?" Ray asked. Michael Reeves occupied a cell in a federal supermax prison. His cooperation had helped dismantle terrorist financing networks, but his crimes had earned him multiple life sentences. Recent reports suggested he'd found religion, leading prison Bible studies. Still writing confession letters, Madeline said. One to Derek each month, detailing new memories of Rebecca's manipulation. The psychiatrists say it's part of his redemption complex. And El Coyote, the legendary cartel assassin, had never recovered from his defeat. After release from federal custody, he'd returned to Mexico, only to find his reputation shattered. Last intelligence placed him training police dogs in Guadalajara, a man who'd found peace in simple work with loyal animals. Derek's phone buzzed, a text from James, Madeline's son. Uncle D, need help with tactical analysis homework. Your place tonight? A smile touched Derek's lips as he replied affirmatively. The boy had inherited his mother's intelligence and determination. Under Derek's mentoring, he was developing into a promising intelligence analyst. He's going to follow you into the business, Madeline observed. He'll be better, Derek said. He's growing up knowing who to trust. The dispatch office housed more than taxi operations. Behind secured doors, a state-of-the-art command center coordinated missions worldwide. Derek's reputation had grown in intelligence circles, his services sought by agencies and private clients alike. A wall of screens displayed ongoing operations, human trafficking interdiction in Eastern Europe, terrorist cell infiltration in Southeast Asia, corruption investigation in South America. Each mission executed with the Ghost's trademark. New intel from Interpol, Ray said, checking his tablet. Remember that analyst who disappeared during the Rebecca incident? The fifth person who knew about the tattoo? Derek touched his left arm, where the geometric pattern remained a symbol of both past and purpose. Surfaced in Cairo. Running a private intelligence firm, Ray pulled up surveillance photos. Might be relevant to our trafficking case. Derek studied the images. Put a team on it. If there's a connection, already done. Chen's unit is in position. Michael Chen, Ray's husband, commanded their tactical response team. The former SEAL had proved invaluable in expanding operations beyond simple surveillance and elimination. How's the new training program? Madeline asked. Derek had established a discreet academy, teaching selected candidates the art of invisible warfare. Not just combat and tactics, but the deeper skills, patience, observation, the ability to hide in plain sight. Promising candidates, he replied. Former intelligence, special forces, law enforcement, all with one thing in common. What's that? They understand the price of betrayal. The lesson of Rebecca's betrayal had shaped their entire operation. Each team member was chosen not just for skills, but for their unwavering loyalty. The Ghost's family accepted no compromise. A buzzer indicated a visitor in the public office. Through the security feed, Derek recognized a familiar face, Sarah Chun, Madeline's wife, bringing lunch for the team. Your wife's here, he told Madeline. She's worried we're working too hard on this trafficking case. Madeline smiled. Probably right. The years had taught them to balance the mission with personal connections. Regular family dinners, weekend gatherings, celebrations of milestones. All part of maintaining their humanity while doing inhuman work. Derek's phone chimed again. A message from one of his taxi drivers. Possible target spotted. Following protocol. His network of drivers included carefully selected veterans, each trained to spot suspicious patterns. They served as the Ghost's eyes and ears across the city, gathering intelligence while maintaining perfect cover. I need to handle this, he told his team. Dinner at my place Sunday. Bring the families. As they prepared to leave, Madeline paused. You ever regret not having kids of your own? Derek thought of James, of the other children in their extended family, of the young agents he'd mentored. I have all the family I need. The years following Rebecca's betrayal had taught him valuable lessons. True family wasn't about blood or marriage. It was about loyalty, trust, and shared purpose. His phone displayed another message, this one from a secure intelligence channel. Ghost protocol activation requested. Priority target identified. Derek read the details, his expression hardening. Another predator hiding behind respectability. Another wolf in sheep's clothing. Take care of the trafficking case, he instructed his team. I'll handle this personally. Ray and Madeline exchanged knowing looks. The ghost was going hunting. In his private office, Derek accessed a hidden compartment. Inside lay specialized equipment, documents, weapons, tools of his trade. The taxi driver facade remained perfect, but beneath it, the weapon stayed sharp. A final message appeared. Uncle D brought pizza for study session. Mom says you're working too hard. Derek smiled, securing his equipment. First, dinner and tutoring with his nephew. Then, the ghost would remind the underworld why his legend endured. The years had changed many things, but certain truths remained constant. Loyalty deserved protection, betrayal demanded consequences, and the most dangerous predators were the ones you never saw coming. In her Swiss facility, Rebecca Mason added another page to her analysis of Derek's methods. After 10 years, she still couldn't understand how he'd beaten her sophisticated psychological warfare with simple, unshakable principles. In his Supermax cell, Michael Reeves wrote another confession letter, trying to explain his weakness to a man who'd never showed any. In Guadalajara, El Coyote trained another police dog, finding peace in the uncomplicated loyalty of animals. And in New York, Derek Mason's taxi fleet prowled the streets, gathering intelligence, maintaining watch. The Ghost Network grew stronger each year, built on the lessons of betrayal and the bonds of true loyalty. His geometric tattoo remained a reminder of both past and purpose. The Ghost Protocol lived on, not as a military unit, but as a philosophy. Justice delivered from the shadows, protection for the worthy, consequences for the deserving. The taxi dispatcher's radio crackled. Base, this is Unit 17. Priority signal. Derek picked up the handset, already calculating routes and resources. Another mission began. Another chance to prove why legends endured. Behind him, photos of his extended family covered the office walls: Madeline and Sarah's wedding, Ray and Michael's anniversary, James's police academy graduation. Proof that even ghosts could build something real, something lasting. The sun set over New York as Derek's taxi merged into traffic. The ghost's justice continued, invisible but relentless, guarding the line between light and shadow. Some stories never truly end. They just evolve, adapt, grow stronger with time. And the best predators remain patient, vigilant, ready to strike when betrayal shows its face. The ghost's legend lived on, a whispered warning in the underworld. Some sins carry eternal consequences, and some hunters never stop hunting. Derek Mason drove through his city, a protector in plain sight, his true nature hidden behind tinted glass and practiced smiles. The war continued. The ghost endured, and justice wore a taxi driver's face. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.